In the beginning there was only chaos, a formless sea, a silent void, and the faint stirrings of creation. From this primordial darkness arose two deities, Izanagi and Izanami, whose union would shape the islands of Japan and give birth to the mighty kami who govern the sun, the moon, the storms, and even fire itself. Tonight, we journey into the heart of Shinto cosmology, exploring the myths that define life, death, and the delicate balance between order and chaos. We will follow Izanagi's descent into the underworld, witness the creation of the sun goddess Amaterasu, the moon god Tsukuyomi, the storm god Susanoo, and the fiery Kagutsuchi, and uncover the rituals that forge the very fabric of the universe. Prepare to enter a world where divine drama, cosmic order, and sacred ritual intertwine, and where the stories of the kami continue to echo through nature, society, and human imagination. Where order is born from chaos, ritual births meaning. In the heart of Shinto cosmology lies a story that is equal parts cosmography and liturgy. The creation through invitation, the fall into death, the rites of purification that reforge the world. Tonight, we trace that story, step by deliberate step, through the lives, the conflicts, and the continuing echoes of the central kami, Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, Susanoo, and Kagutsuchi. We will linger in the acts of ritual that give shape to the cosmos, descend with Izanagi into the underworld, and watch as the very face of heaven is remade by the water and the sword of purification. Prepare to learn about Izanami and Izanagi, the two deities. Izanagi and his counterpart Izanami stood upon the Ame no Ukihashi, the floating bridge of heaven, clutching between them the Ame no Noboko, the jeweled spear of heaven. The first act is not a simple command. It is an exacting ceremony. The spear is dipped and raked through primeval waters. The ocean resists like viscous smoke. When the spear lifts, salt-sprayed beads fling outward and condense into rock. From that simple gesture, one measured stir, the first land, Onogoro, begins to breathe solidity. This stirring is not merely physical, it is an ontology. Each motion is a premise. Order can be coaxed from shapelessness by deliberate, repeated action. The very first ritual enacted on Onogoro is the Mihashira no Uchiai, the circling of the pillar. The two kami trace the pillar in opposite directions, meeting on the far side. The choreography is precise. The vantage of arrival, the order of speech, the cadence of greeting. The first time, Izanami speaks first, and the result is malformed. Children that are imperfect, transient. The air trembles with a lesson. Cosmic order mirrors ritual order. The proper sequence matters. The gods themselves are bound by a grammar of comportment. In the second ritual, Izanagi takes the lead. The circling is identical in form, yet altered in intention. They meet again, this time with words ordered correctly, and the world answers. Islands are born, Awaji, Shikoku, Kyushu, Honshu, one after another, each generated by acts of union conducted with precision and reverence. The narrative insists that the microcosm of a greeting contains macrocosmic consequences. Ritual misstep produces anomaly. Ritual rectitude gives rise to solidity. The cosmos is enacted like a play, and each line delivered correctly can determine whether a world lives or withers. There is texture to these moments. The scent of wet stone, the metallic clang of the spear's jewels, the hush after the successful greeting when the sea calms and the horizon holds its breath. The story invites reflection. The law of cause and effect in the divine sphere is not abstract. It is procedural. A single misplaced word carries cosmological weight. From their union came not only land, but the many kami of natural force and human practice. Yet with generativity comes risk. Izanami gives birth to Kagutsuchi, the fire deity. Fire itself is double-edged. Warmth, forging, transformation, but also the scorch of mortality. In the convulsion of giving birth, Izanami is grievously burned and dies. The camera rests on a long, silent frame, ashes blown across an empty birthing bed, and the narration softens. Her death introduces mortality into the cosmic ledger. There is a shift from pure creative potency to a world containing injury, loss, and separation. The narrative does not sensationalize the wound. It treats it as a hinge point. Life and death, creation and destruction are braided together. From the charred scene, catastrophic consequence ripples outward. Izanagi's grief, his resolve to cross the boundaries that separate living and dead, and the beginning of one of Shinto's most resonant tales. This descent is not merely a drama of reunion. It is a study in the impossibility of reversing death without consequence. Izanagi enters Yomi, the land of the dead, with a determined tenderness. The underworld is described as a shadowed place, where time slackens and shapes dissolve. The air is described as stale, with suspended syllables. In that suffocating darkness, he finds Izanami, no longer the luminous partner of the bridge, but transformed into a figure of decay and necessity. What follows is a prolonged moment of unbearable tension. Against the hush of Yomi, Izanagi begs for her return. Izanami's reply is not immediate forgiveness. It is a counter of obligations and a revelation of the laws of death. She asks him to wait while she consults the underworld deities, then instructs him not to look. Suspense builds. Small sounds, footsteps fading, the rustle of cloth, the muffled echo of a door closing. Curiosity, a mortal and divine failing, bends Izanagi to the threshold. When he lights a torch and looks, the sight is unbearable. Izanami's body is a tableau of putrefaction. Worms and vermin crawling where flesh once held form. The voice that had once been soft is now a chorus of the other world. Horror floods him. The moment of revelation is cinematic. Izanagi flees. The torch sparks and drops. The underworld presses like a finger on the throat of the living. Izanami rises in wrath. The chase that follows is not only physical, but juridical. It is an attempt by death to reclaim what the living would keep. Izanagi makes for the threshold and smashes the entrance with a great stone, sealing the living from the realm below. Izanami's rage does not end. She sends emissaries, foul things of the underworld and the embodiments of rotting hunger, to claim Izanagi. The pursuit culminates in a covenant of separation. Izanami pronounces that 150 people will die each day, and Izanagi responds by decreeing that 1,500 will be born. In this exchange, the cosmos accepts mortality and the regenerative response of life in numeric terms. But the story does not close with sealing alone. Izanagi, his body stained with the contamination of death, must undergo Mythology, purification through washing. The ritual is precise, systematic. Garments are stripped, limbs are washed, water runs in ordered sequences. As each drop falls away, new life emerges. From the washing of his left eye springs Amaterasu. From the right eye, Tsukuyomi. From his nose, Susanoo. This emergence is rich with symbolism. The very acts of cleansing transform impurity into authority. The sun, the moon, and the storm are born from the body that braved death. In Shinto ontology, purification is not simply a return to a previous state. It is generative. From rupture, the cosmos reorders itself. Amaterasu's arrival is not a minor radiance. It is the codification of light as social and political principle. Born from Izanagi's left eye, she embodies illumination, fertility, and the sustaining rhythms of agriculture. In mythic episodes, she is most famously associated with the Amino Iwato, the heavenly rock cave, into which she withdraws after a grievous offense by her brother Susanoo. Her retreat is an act of withdrawal that casts heaven into darkness. The world withers in the absence of the sun. The drama of Amaterasu's cave reveals much about her character. She is not merely a life-giving luminary, but a guardian of order, a sovereign who measures and mediates. Her personality is both luminous and sovereignly reserved. She demands respect and ritual compliance, and her absence is an existential crisis. The other kami convene a council outside the cave, performing rites of coaxing, music, dance, and the presentation of a mirror. The use of the mirror and ritual performance to draw her out underscores the Shinto belief in mediated revelation. Sacred presence can be compelled or invited through properly ordered action. Amaterasu's relationship with humanity is multifaceted. She is emblematic of agricultural fertility, the cycle of planting and harvest, but she also becomes the spiritual ancestor of imperial authority. The emperor's legitimacy is traditionally traced to her line. Her influence permeates civic ritual and seasonal festival life, where ceremonies reenact the solar blessing and affirm social order. In symbol, Amaterasu stands where governance and providence intersect. Her light sustains crops, calendar time, and the ritual frameworks that bind community, yet she is not static. Her myth invites us to think forward. What happens when a social order tied to a single, luminous principle meets turbulence? The story of Amaterasu's withdrawal and return suggests that authority depends on ritual reciprocity. The modern resonance is clear. Socio-political cohesion requires not only power, but the rituals, public performances, shared symbols that maintain it. Tsukuyomi, born from Izanagi's right eye, occupies a different register. Where Amaterasu is brilliant and immediately life-affirming, Tsukuyomi governs the measured, cyclical realm of night and ceremonial time. His presence is more austere. He embodies the invisible counting of hours, the cool logic of the lunar cycle that structures rhythms of fishing, planting, and ritual observation. His most famous moment, his killing of the food goddess Ukemochi, speaks to his uncompromising character. When confronted with a method of creating food that he perceives as repulsive or improper, he responds with categorical violence. This rupture with the household of the divine creates a permanent estrangement between moon and sun. The ordering principle of night is separated from the life-bearing day. The story is not simply moralizing. It is an exploration of the costs of rigid propriety. Tsukuyomi's behavior suggests that an uncompromising insistence on purity or order, when untempered by generosity, may lead to isolation. Symbolically, Tsukuyomi shapes human life through the calendar. The moon's phases provide a tacit ledger for ritual timing, for agricultural cycles, and for interpersonal rhythms of rest and vigilance. He is both the keeper of quiet measurement and a reminder that order divorced from relational imagination can fracture community. In modern reflection, Tsukuyomi challenges us to balance legal exactitude with the softer arts of communal care. Susanoo's entrance into heaven is a thunderclap. Born from Izanagi's nose, he is the unruly sibling, tempestuous, indomitable, generous in both destruction and invention. His stories oscillate between violent rampage, where his storms unroot the fields, and his fits of rage threaten the ordered world, and explosive acts of creativity, most dramatically the slaying of the eight-headed serpent Yamata no Orochi. In the Orochi episode, Susanoo's violence becomes salvific. He saves a desolate household by outwitting the monster, dismembers the beast, and from its tail draws the fabled sword Kusanagi, an implement that later figures as one of the imperial regalia. From a symbolic standpoint, Susanoo embodies the paradox of wild force. He is a disruptor whose creative outputs, tools, gardens reclaimed from flood, new techniques, become foundations for social renewal. Susanoo's conflicts with Amaterasu illuminate the fragile architecture of cosmic order. His transgressions drive Amaterasu to withdraw. His subsequent acts of restitution and sacrifice demonstrate that the forces of nature must be domesticated, negotiated, rather than simply condemned. His character suggests a future-facing lesson, that societies must reckon with the destructive energies they inherit, transforming them into tools rather than continuing cycles of mutual devastation. Susanoo's relevance is also intimate. In rural rites, storms are neither mere weather nor merely catastrophe. They are the voice of a deity who demands respect. His myths instruct communities about boundaries, how to appease, when to stand firm, how to convert fury into craft. Kagutsuchi's brief appearance is tectonic. The fire deity's very birth is an act of violence that claims his mother's life, and that foundational cruelty marks fire as a fundamental paradox. Fire is artisan and destructor, hearth and holocaust. Kagutsuchi embodies this double bind. He enables metallurgy, cooking, pottery, the very technologies that allow human societies to expand. Yet his presence is also the origin of elemental mortality. In the aftermath of his birth, his father Izanagi, in his grief, beheaded Kagutsuchi with his sword, Ame no Ohabari, and cut his body into 8 pieces, which became 8 volcanoes. Kagutsuchi's corpse created numerous deities, which typically includes Watatsumi, Kurokami, Takamikazuchi, Futsunushi, Amatsumikaboshi, and Oyamatsumi. The symbolism is clear. To engage fire is to accept loss, and to accept the creative possibility that emerges from sacrifice. The narrative insists that technological mastery is ethically complex. Fire produces warmth and crafts lives, but also introduces risk and moral calculus. Kagutsuchi's influence on humanity is practical and moral. He is present wherever flames are harnessed, in the forge that gives steel to a plow, in the hearth where families gather, in the cremation pyre that transforms bodies back into earth. To honor fire is to acknowledge its ambivalence. Modern imagination should treat Kagutsuchi as an emblem of the double-edged technologies we now create. Powerful tools that demand responsibility. The myths of Izanagi and Izanami, and the triumvirate of Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo, and the saga of Kagutsuchi are not antique curiosities. They are lived metaphors for the ongoing work of bringing order to chaos. They counsel that precision of ritual matters, that purification is generative, that power must be mediated through ritual and responsibility. They challenge us to think of purification not as denial, but as transformation, an ethic for confronting decay and manufacturing renewal. Beyond the immediate theater of gods and spirits, these myths unfold as reflections of human experience itself. The cycles of conflict and reconciliation, of withdrawal and return, of destruction and creation, mirror the rhythms that govern our own lives. Every act of care, every ritual observed, every misstep and repair echoes the movements first traced upon the floating bridge of heaven. In the gestures of Izanagi and Izanami, in the luminous emergence of Amaterasu, and in the storm-wrought presence of Susanoo, we perceive the patterns of ambition, grief, and renewal that shape both personal and communal existence. Shinto cosmology insists that the sacred and the ordinary are inseparable. Fire, wind, sun, and moon are not abstractions, but living forces that demand attentiveness and respect. The moral and ethical lessons embedded in these tales are not merely narratives for reflection. They are instructions for engaging with the world. Within ritual and myth, we learn that each act, no matter how small, carries consequence, that intentionality and care are the instruments by which balance is preserved, and that attentiveness to the cycles of life, death, and transformation is a practice as necessary today as it was in the earliest days of creation. And so, the enduring power of these stories lies not in their antiquity, but in their invitation to renewal. Each retelling, each ritual, is an act of shaping and reshaping the world, a reaffirmation that order, light, and life emerge from deliberate engagement. We inherit not just the narratives themselves, but the responsibility to enact them, to recognize the edges where chaos encroaches, to purify and repair, to illuminate and harmonize. The myths endure because they are not static. They are living frameworks for navigating a world that, like the primeval waters of Onogoro, waits to be formed by careful, mindful action. As the sun dips behind the torii, casting amber reflections across the water, consider the ways your own gestures, small acts of attention, ritual, or care contribute to the harmony of the world. The stories of Izanagi and Izanami, and the kami born from their deeds, Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, Susanoo, and Kagutsuchi, remind us that creation is never complete. Life and death, light and darkness, order and chaos are forever intertwined. Through awareness, ritual, and respect for the natural world, we too can participate in the ongoing act of renewal, shaping our lives and the world around us with deliberate intention. If these stories of creation, loss, and renewal have stirred you, take a moment to reflect on the rituals, choices, and acts of care in your own life. Share this journey with others, explore the myths in depth, and consider how the lessons of the kami, order from chaos, purification, and mindful action can shape the world around you. Subscribe to continue exploring the stories, symbols, and sacred rhythms that connect us across time, and join us in witnessing how ancient wisdom still illuminates the modern world.